it is videotaping me so that anybody that's not here can view it later. So, well, welcome. My name is Monica Kelsey. I am the founder and current CEO of Safe Haven Baby Boxes, and we're the only organization in America today that is literally saving babies in boxes at fire stations and hospitals, and it never gets old getting a call from a location, even at 2 o'clock in the morning, when they say, Monica, we just had another baby in one of our boxes. And it's incredible, but it's also heartbreaking at the same time, because you know that there's a mother out there that is having the worst day of her life. And so, yes, we celebrate the life of a child being saved, but we also do not diminish the fact that a mother, again, is having the worst day of her life. So today we're going to talk about Safe Haven, and then we're going to talk about the baby box. The baby box is just an extension of the already existing Safe Haven law. Now, I go around the country and I speak to fire stations, hospitals, police stations, high schools. I was at a camp recently. We talk Safe Haven all the time. So if you have a question, raise your hand or just blurt it out. It doesn't matter. This is very informal. I love Jesus. I'm on Holy Street. I like to cuss a little bit, but this is not a formal setting. So hopefully I don't get in trouble for that. But so just tell you a little bit about myself. I graduated high school. I joined the United States military, spent 8 years in the military, and then joined the fire service when I got out. I got my love for firefighting actually in the military. And so became a firefighter and a medic. I worked for Paramedics Plus in Fort Wayne. We took care of all the 911 calls in the entire city, which is about 500,000 people. So it's a big city. And then I retired in 2019 because I couldn't do that and this at the same time. So now I've dedicated my life to doing this, and we'll get on at the end about why I do what I do. So who's familiar with the Safe Haven law? Has anybody ever done training? And I'm not asking the sergeant over here because she knows it all. So did anyone ever come in here when they passed the original Safe Haven law, where a parent can walk in to this facility, hand the child to a person, and turn around and walk away, no questions asked? Did anybody ever come in from the state or any other agency or whatever and say, hey, this is how you do it, this is what you should do, this is what you should never do? Or did they just hand a piece of paper to you and say, hey, you're taking babies now? And that's how it was in Indiana, at our fire station. They basically handed us a piece of paper and said, this is the law. A woman can walk in here and hand you a child, and we're like, shut the front door. Like, they can just hand us a baby and leave? You know, but that was 25 years ago, too. Times were a little bit different back then, where, we are today. So the first thing that we're going to do is and I get this all the time when I speak at fire stations and hospitals and police stations, is people that say, why are you going around the country, Monica, spending thousands and thousands of dollars putting boxes in buildings when there's already a Safe Haven law in the books? Every state in America has a Safe Haven law. And so I'm going to get you to kind of wrap your heads around why we've taken this step, but also to get you to understand where the mind of these women are. And so I'm going to show you 2 videos first, and I'm hoping that you guys can view this in the back. Of course, it wants to see my face. But this is going to get you just a little bit of understanding of you want to hold it for me? If you can, I'll make it full screen. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this or not. It will be in the video, full screen. No, you can't use it. Just hold like that. This was a video from Georgia, and this was police. Shut the damn mic off. There we go. Got it. My fat thumb. So this is it's a 90-second video, but it's of a police officer that got called to a medical unknown. So what you're about to see is the body cam footage from this police officer. And this was 2019. This wasn't 25 years ago. This was, 6 years ago.
Kidding me? in the woods.
How did you hear it?
We heard it from our house.
Oh, yeah?
Then my kid said it's a baby. I said it's an animal. He finally got me up here. We couldn't find it. It's right under here.
Oh, look at that precious thing. All right. Watch out, I got it. All right.
2283.
Oh, look at you, sweetheart. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Yes, look at you.
Breathing.
Crying.
Trying to comfort.
Oh.
10-4.
Oh, look how precious you are. Yeah. Look who's here.
Grab me the open it up.
We need
Get her. Clamp. Baby girl.
yeah, she's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
She's a sweetheart.
You grip.
Yeah.
Grab me. Yeah, grab the blanket.
Grab the really
Hang on. Grab the cord. Her. Oh.
Counting with back.
Perfect. All right.
This one is from 2 years ago that I'm going to show you. And this one, pay close attention to how this baby is thrown in the dumpster.
To watch. A teen mom drives up to the dumpster. In the back seat is her newborn, stuffed in a trash bag. Then you see her coldly tossing the baby boy right into the dumpster, like garbage. She drives off, apparently not realizing every move she made was captured on surveillance camera. It's 36 degrees in Hobbs, New Mexico, but the story doesn't end there. Nightfall comes. That same surveillance camera captures a miracle. As 3 dumpster divers scavenge for goods, suddenly they hear what they think is a cat. They retrieve the garbage bag. Miraculously, the baby is alive. You see the woman taking charge, her maternal instincts kicking in. She cradles the baby. You even see her kiss the infant. They call 911.
911, where is your emergency?
We just found the baby in the trash.
Is it breathing?
Yes, ma'am. He still got his umbilical cord. He's whimpering. He was not crying, actually.
The woman in the video seen comforting the child is April Natal.
She could have took him to the hospital, took him to a church, took him somewhere other than throwing him away like a piece of trash.
The teen mom was quickly tracked down. She is 18-year-old Alexia Avila and now faces attempted murder and child abuse charges. She reportedly delivered the baby earlier that day in the bathroom at home. The baby has now been named Saul. A terrible beginning and saved by 3 dumpster divers who made...
Who'd seen that one? That one was, thank you. That one was highly publicized as well. But if you noticed, it was nonchalantly just tossing this infant in a dumpster. Would it surprise you if I told you that this happens every 3 to 5 days in America? 3 to 5 days. Yesterday we posted a story about a baby in Louisville. Mother gave birth in her home, put the baby in a plastic bag, tied it up, put it in her closet. That was on July 2nd. Saturday, police show up. Before the police get there, she takes this baby in this plastic bag and puts it in the trunk of her car. Police open the trunk of her car, find flies in this bag. This baby was already decomposing. Full-term baby, healthy. And so every 3 to 5 days in America, this is what we're finding. And it's just heartbreaking. I'm going to read a couple more cases just to kind of get you to understand the difference between the two. You guys can come in and sit down so you guys can get out of the sun. I mean, we don't have recliners for you guys here, but, just feel free to sit if you'd like. They're like, who the hell is this? All right. And these are all over America. This isn't just one state. Birmingham, Alabama. A newborn baby girl was found alive, wrapped in a towel, laid at the front door of a home. This home belonged to a police officer. Queens, New York. Newborn baby found at the door of a fire station on the ground, alive. Garland, Arkansas, baby found alive in a box outside the front door of a home. This lady was leaving for work and found a newborn on her porch. Syracuse, New York, infant found dead inside a backpack left at a nurse's station at a Syracuse high school. Palm Springs, California, newborn found dead at Desert Regional Medical Center in a public area. This doctor and this nurse was going out to have lunch, and they sat down at a picnic table and found a dead newborn in the grass. Louisville, Kentucky, newborn found dead in a laundry basket in the hall of a hospital. Now, what is every hospital in America? A safe haven location. You just have to walk in and hand your child to a person. Los Angeles, California, newborn baby boy found outside a church in a stroller, placenta still attached, child survived. Atlanta, Georgia, a newborn baby girl was found on the front porch of a home, wrapped in a blanket, placenta still attached, child survived. Moosic, Pennsylvania, baby found in the bathroom of a church, wrapped in a blanket, baby survived. Chicago, Illinois, baby found wrapped in a blanket, laying on the ground outside a hospital ER door. Queens, New York, baby boy found alive, laying in a church nativity scene. I'm not even kidding you, this baby was laying in the manger. This pastor walks in and finds a baby in the manger with nobody around him. I would have literally just lost it. Yakima, Washington, a newborn baby girl was found outside a fire station on the ground at 6 a.m. by a firefighter who was getting ready for a morning workout. Baby was left in an apple box and was only a few hours old. Shawnee, Oklahoma, twin boys were found in the bed of a pickup truck outside a firehouse. Mom called 911 from a payphone and told dispatchers that she left them in the pickup truck and then hung up so she could remain anonymous. What she failed to state was which fire station she left them at and which pickup truck she left them in. Babies were found over an hour later alive. What do those cases that I just read not have in conjunction with the videos? What's the difference?
They tried.
Say again?
They tried to leave them somewhere where someone could help, I feel like.
So if you leave a baby at the door of a hospital, do you want that baby found dead? No. If you throw a baby in a dumpster, do you want that baby found dead? Yeah, that baby was never meant to live. The baby that was found in the dumpster in Hobbs, New Mexico was in there for 6 hours and was found alive. He was literally clinging to life when they found him. His body core temp rectally was not even registering on a thermometer. He was probably minutes from dying. But you don't throw your baby in a dumpster and hope it lives. You don't throw your baby in a plastic bag alongside a highway and hope it lives. But would you place the child at the door of a firehouse? Would you take the baby to the hospital and leave it on the grounds, hoping somebody would find it? 2 years ago in the city of Chicago, now Chicago, I don't even know how many fire stations they have. I probably should look that up. But they have probably 100 fire stations in Chicago. There's a fire station downtown. Now, us as being first responders, we would know that this wasn't an active firehouse. It was a firehouse, but this is where they did the maintenance on their trucks. So they were there 9 to 5. Half of our volunteer locations are there, some not even that. Some not even there from 9 to 5. But this fire station was only there from 9 to 5, and it was snowing, so they all came in early because they had to do a lot of work on their trucks that morning. So they came in at 5 a.m. They found a duffel bag outside the door. Now there was a safe haven sign above this door. Why do you put a safe haven sign above a fire station that's not an active fire station? That's my first question. This baby was found in a duffel bag wrapped in a blanket tightly, frozen. This baby was frozen. Now why does a woman take a baby to the door of a fire station, wrap it in a blanket, put it in a duffel bag, and this was one of those duffel bags that were long and it zipped sideways and it had the straps, you kind of toted it. Why do you put a baby in a duffel bag, wrap it up real tight, and stick it at the door of what is a fire station? Because you don't want that baby found? You hope it lives? Did she take a dead infant to a firehouse? There's no way. The baby was alive when it got there. The problem is they weren't there. They didn't get there till 5 a.m. and unfortunately, in January, in Chicago, it's cold. and this baby froze to death. And so when you look at the baby box, you can see this is a progression of the safe haven law. The safe haven law that's been around for 25 years, we're not raising the same generation of kids today that we were 25 years ago. Was the safe haven law enough 25 years ago? Probably at the time this was the best intentions for the lawmakers. And back then, 25 years ago, people were like, what do you mean we're taking babies? We should never be allowing these women to just forego their responsibility. And we had to get people to understand that some parents just don't, just shouldn't be parents. I mean, I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. We've all been, as firefighters, medics, police, we've walked into a house where there's kids and we look around and we say, this is gonna end extremely bad for someone. And it's probably gonna be one of these kids. And there just are parents out there that should never be there are parents out there that should never be parents. And so when you look at the cases that we read, and you look at the cases in the video, is the baby box going to save every child? No, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that it is, because it's not. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that the baby box is the safest way to surrender a child, because it's not. But the babies that are being placed at the doors of locations, those are the babies that we're trying to save. You're still gonna have mental illness, you're still gonna have drug addiction, you're still gonna have women that don't give a shit. That they're just going to take their infant to a dumpster or a trash can and leave it. But we are seeing far more cases of women going to these places and leaving their babies where they don't wanna go face to face with someone and trying to save the life of their child. And so the progression of the Safe Haven Baby Box is literally just that. It's just a progression. It's allowing these parents anonymity. And in a little bit, we're gonna set it off so you guys can see exactly how it works. But to be able to allow a parent, I mean, we might not agree with it, but we're allowing a parent to say, I want what's best for my child and it's not me. And they can bring it here and walk away knowing that these guys got it from here. Or even walking into a fire station in your city. There doesn't have to be a baby box there. Have you guys had a surrender at one of your fire stations here in Blackfoot? It's becoming more prevalent today than ever before. We're getting more babies now surrendered than ever before. And so make sure you stand ready when that day comes. You come around. We won't make you stand in the heat. So I'm going to read your law now, and I took some cliff notes. Will you open that? And there's a Word document at the bottom. We're going to go over Idaho's. Okay, so I'm going to read you guys the Safe Haven Law, and this is what the legislators have enacted you to do. And then I've got some cliff notes here. We'll just go over just some of the specifics, and then we'll answer questions, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of the logistics and what you should say and what you should never say to a parent that walks in. Just because this box is here in this wall doesn't mean a parent won't walk in and hand their child to a person. That's what we recommend. That's safer. We know that. And that's what we're going to ask a parent to do if she calls our hotline. That hotline number is at the bottom of every one of our boxes, and we get about 2 calls a day. But this is Title 39, Health and Safety, Chapter 82, Idaho Safe Haven Act, Emergency Custody of Certain Abandoned Children, and I hate the word abandoned. It's got confidentiality and immunity for first responders. That's something that's very important. When we started writing legislation for the Safe Haven baby boxes, we wanted to make sure that the fire stations, the hospitals, and the personnel had immunity. A safe haven shall take temporary physical custody of a child without a court order if the child is personally delivered to a safe haven or a safe haven through a newborn safety device, which is AKA the baby box. The child is no more than 30 days of age. The custodial parent delivers the child to the safe haven. The custodial parent does not express an intent to return. A hospital, fire station, law enforcement agency, or medical services provider that is staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week without exception, may use a newborn safety device to accept surrendered infants pursuant to this section. If the device is physically part of the building, temperature controlled, equipped with functional alarms, located in the interior part of the hospital, If a safe haven takes temporary custody of a child pursuant to subsection 1 of this section, the safe haven shall A, perform any act necessary in accordance with generally accepted standards of professional practice to protect, preserve, and aid the physical health and safety of the child during the temporary physical custody, including, but not limited to, delivering the child to the hospital for care and treatment. That would go towards our firefighters and our police. Immediately notify a peace officer or other personnel appointed by the court of the abandonment. I would call this a surrender. I wouldn't call it an abandonment, but I get why they use that. The safe haven shall inquire as to the identity of the custodial parent, and if the identity of the parent is known to the safe haven, and safe haven shall keep all information as to the identity confidential. The custodial parent leaving the child shall not be required to provide any information, but may voluntarily provide information, including but not limited to medical history of the parent or the child. A safe haven with responsibility for performing duties under this section and any employee, doctor, and other personnel working at the safe haven are immune from any criminal or civil liability that otherwise might result from their actions if they are acting in good faith and receiving a child and performing duties under this section. A custodial parent may leave a child with a safe haven or a safe haven through the baby box or newborn safety device in this state without being subjected to prosecution for abandonment pursuant to provisions of Title 18 Idaho Code, provided that the child was no more than 30 days of age when it was left at the safe haven or safe haven through the newborn safety device, also determined within a reasonable degree of medical certainty. Now, you can keep going on with the code and see what happens to these babies once they are surrendered and they go into the system, but for time's sake, we're not going to go over that. But so let's break this down just a little bit. So how old can a child be to be legally surrendered under the safe haven law?
Under 30 days.
Under 30 days. What if you get a 45-dayer?
We won't know.
You're really not going to know. And remember the very last sentence of your code, medical certainty. Even our paramedics out on the street are not, our scope of practice is not to determine the age of an infant. If we are handed an infant out on the street, this baby's 35, 40 days, we're not going to know that, are we? And also in your code, it also says that your job is to protect the physical health and safety. If you look at this mother and you say, well, you know what, this baby looks to be about 50 days old, maybe 40. I just can't take this child. What is going to happen? This child's going to end up abused or dead. And so you did not protect the physical health and safety of this infant if you do that. Now, as first responders under the safe haven law, our job will never change. Whether you're a police officer, firefighter, medical personnel, at a hospital, your job will never change under safe haven. It will never change. The Department of Child Services job may change, but your job will never change. We might have to add in an agency, right? The baby's abused. You come in here and we've got broken ribs, bruises all over an infant. We better be getting PD involved. That would be an extra step, but did our job change? We're still taking custody of an infant, protecting it, and turning it over to the state, right? So our job isn't going to change. Now, if the kid walks in here, I would recommend probably getting DCS involved in not accepting this child under safe haven. But I would not let this child go back to its mother. I would get somebody involved that knows more than I do. Because again, we want to protect the child's physical health and safety. This child's just not under that age. Who can surrender an infant under safe haven in Idaho? Say again? The guardian. And that's exactly what the statute stated. So if a mother walks in here right now and hands you a child and says, I'm not the mother, are you taking the baby?
Yeah.
Let me tell you some of the situations that we've had with some of these moms that walk in. Some moms will tell you they are the mother and they're not. And some of them will tell you that she's not the mother and she is. And that's trying to protect her identity. A lot of these parents will come in and say that this is her friend's baby and it's really hers. We're really never going to know who the identity of this child's parents are without asking. So if a person walks in here and does not tell you whether they're the custodial parent of this child, and they just turn around and walk away, which is their right, we're going to assume that this child's guardian is who brought this child here, unless you have reason to believe otherwise. What would you ask a mom that walked in here? And remember, we're still on the safe haven law. We're not talking about the box just yet. But if a mom walked in here and handed you a child,
Are you safe? Do you need help?
you guys watch my TikToks, don't you?
Nurses.
See, they.
Nurses.
So, are you safe? It's a good question to ask. Are there any questions off limits? And hey, listen, hush over here. Are there any questions off limits? There is. The question is, what is the question that's off limits? What would you not want to ask a parent that walked in and handed you a child? Say again?
Just to identify them, we don't want to identify them.
You can probably, you can ask them if they want to identify themselves. There's nothing wrong with that. They don't have to answer you, that's their right under safe haven, but that's not totally off the table. If you feel called to do that, I personally wouldn't. Safe haven is a program that works because of the confidentiality and the anonymity, but that's not off the table.
Are you sure you know what you're doing?
That is the exact question that you should never ask a parent. Did you all hear him? Are you sure? Are you sure, or why? Why are you doing this? Even as a firefighter, our best intentions is to help. We want to help. Asking a mother why is not helping. We could do this in the best intentions. It is going to come off wrong, no matter how you spin it. This parent's going to walk away from here feeling judged or shamed. And you just ask that question in good faith. So stay away from the why question. What question absolutely every single time a parent gets a child, every time a child is surrendered to a first responder, what would you ask every parent, without exception?
Is there any medical information I need to know?
Is there any medical information I need to know? It's a good question to ask, but it's not mandatory.
Are you okay?
Elaborate on that just a bit.
Do you need help?
Do you need medical care? So the babies that we are getting through Safe Haven, and you could kind of see this in the cases that I was reading, these babies aren't born in hospitals. We're getting babies in our boxes with placentas still attached. These women are having babies in the streets, homeless camps. A lot of these younger moms are having babies in their bathrooms at home, parents upstairs. And so we want to make sure that if she walks in and hands us a baby, that the first thing we say is, do you need medical care? Is there something I could do for you? I would also thank her. A couple days ago, yesterday we did this video on this baby in Louisville. It would have been a lot easier to say thank you to this parent instead of prosecuting her to the fullest extent of the law because a baby is dead now. And so a woman that walks in here and hands you a child and basically says, I want what's best for my child and it's not me, we should be thanking her. We should. Because she could have done something tragic and she didn't. She trusted you. She trusted the facility. She trusted the fire department to handle it from here. Thank her for that. And that's exactly how I would do it. I would say, thank you for bringing your child here. Thank you for entrusting Blackfoot Fire Department to take it from here. We'll get your baby to the hospital. We'll get your baby the care that it needs. Is there anything that I can do for you? Do you need medical care? What can I do for you? Put that in hers. Now, as medical professionals, we're also not counselors. You might have a counselor on staff, but if you're the one handed this baby and you're not a counselor, don't try and counsel this mom. Just listen. You can do so much by just listening to them. In February of 2019, at my firehouse in Woodburn, Indiana, now we have a baby box in our firehouse, and I was handed an infant. Our goal always is to get these parents who call that 800 number to walk into the facility and hand the child to a person. Well, our hotline got a call and I happened to be on duty. Mom brings her baby down to the fire station. I meet her in the parking lot. And she hands me this 5-pound, 4-ounce little girl wrapped in a blue towel that was wet. This was February of 2019. It is cold in February in Indiana. Immediately got in the back of an ambulance. But, well, before that, I thanked her and I said, is there anything I can do for you? Do you need medical care? She just walked away. She didn't say anything. And that's her right. She can do that. I can tell you it's very uncomfortable to take a child from a parent. It is not comfortable taking a child from a mom. It is not. I train on this, and that day when I was handed this infant, it's like I lost all of that training and my heart was just totally with this parent. But I got this baby in the back of the ambulance and we did a rectal temp. The rectal temp was 89 degrees. So this mother gave birth in her home in February in Indiana, wrapped it in a blanket that was wet, drove down to the firehouse and handed us the baby. There was no warming of this baby or anything. But I'll tell you, seeing this little girl being handed to me was one of the best runs I've ever been on, by far. Because I literally, being in the fire service and being a medic, we see the end of life so much. To be able to see the beginning of life is just a miracle. And for this parent to trust us and to bring this child to us, it was just incredible. What if, and this is not talking about this medical facility, but if you're at the fire station and a woman walks in and she says, yeah, I do want medical care, are we putting her in the same ambulance as the infant? No. Don't put her in the same ambulance as the infant. If the baby is abused and you're doing your med channel report and you're going to tell them, baby's got bruises, baby's got a gash on his, whatever, this parent's going to be sitting right in the bench of the bus saying, wait a minute, what are you talking about? No, I didn't abuse this. You're going to get yourself into a hot mess. And plus, we shouldn't be putting them together if they've split themselves apart. We should honor her decision of separating. And so just put her in a different ambulance. You can go to the same facility, it's okay. But just inform the facility when you get there that this is a different patient. Now, what if you guys can identify this parent? Do we put her name in the chart? No. Unless she tells you that she wants her name recorded or she gives you her name, it is Jane Doe or parent or woman who walked into this facility and handed us a child. It is not the person's name. Do we have child services here? Okay, I'm probably gonna piss you off on this one, so just hang tight for just a second, all right? Just follow me on this. I deal with child services all over this country, and there's a lot of great people that work for these organizations. There's a lot of great intentions, but there's a lot that is flawed. One thing that child services likes to do is come into a facility and get all information. They like to say, do you have her name? Do you know where she lives? That is confidential. Unless you have a piece of paper signed by a judge stating that you are to give this to them, they don't get jack. And it's probably gonna piss them off. But that is your job, and if you noticed under your code, it stated, if you could identify her, it is confidential. Confidentiality means you don't give it to child services. Only way you would do that is if a judge signed an order stating, and that would be if the baby was, abused. Any questions on the statute? It's pretty self-explanatory. I can tell you the first baby that you get handed to you will be very uncomfortable, like I said. The process will not go as planned, but it will be one of the best runs you've ever been on, because you literally are saving the life of a child and a mother, and that's just incredible. But any questions on the statute? There is a lot of people in here with no questions. I know I didn't go over everything.
What if you can identify the race of the baby, or that's asked? How should you deal with that?
How would you be able to identify the race of somebody? Look at me. What is my race? I'm gonna floor you. I look white, right? I have second cousins that are African American. You would not be able to tell me my race. Now, I know that ICWA is a huge thing. right? The federal government came in and said that all babies that are tribe should be raised by their tribe. So if a woman walks in and hands you a child, are you going to try to locate the father? No, you're not, right? Why? Why aren't you? Because your statute doesn't tell you to, right? So what does the statute say? Does it say anything about ICWA in the statute? Now I know that there's a federal law, I get all that, but in your statute of safe haven, does it specifically say anything about ICWA? It doesn't. So this is kind of a, we're going to proceed until we know. Now I know that kind of gets a little bit iffy, but there is no way to know, and we have to respect this mother's decision of surrendering her child, because I can tell you, there are women that surrender that are in abusive relationships, that are being abused by their parents. We've had somebody that surrendered a child that, and I probably shouldn't say this, but we're all friends here, so, that this baby's father is also his grandfather. Does that make sense? Okay. So if we have a situation like that, and we just turn this baby back over to ICWA without doing a proper investigation, we could essentially be putting both of them back in harm's way. And so we have to let the process work itself through. But on the safe haven aspect, our job doesn't change. Our job doesn't change. Department of Child Services' job is going to change if they determine that this child is part of a tribe. But our job ain't going to change, is it? We're still going to protect this baby. We're still going to protect this mom. And we're going to walk away knowing that we did everything that the statute required us to do. And remember, you have immunity. If you make a mistake, this child is part of a tribe. And I read, so because New Mexico is also huge on ICWA, they actually, and I've uncovered just a storm in New Mexico where even the babies that are placed in the boxes, CYFD is looking for the parents because of ICWA, and it's becoming very messy. If you know beyond a shadow of a doubt, if a woman walks in here and tells you that, then obviously you have to follow that and document it. But your job didn't change. Your job still is the same. They're going to take custody of the child, you're going to turn it over to the state. Their job's going to change because they got to get other people involved. But our job won't change. And I don't want to be a dead horse on that. But just remember, the statute itself doesn't state anything. It needs to get a little bit more into the process and go in front of a judge and let them do what they do best, which is, so, but thank you for your question. Did that answer it?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Are we sure? Yeah, so let's touch on, and Jesse actually brought this up, and I don't know if it was somebody in Idaho or I don't even know where they were. But they said, well, what if a baby is addicted to drugs and is placed in one of your boxes? What do? So the baby that was handed to me in February of 2019, I can show you a photo. I took a photo in the ambulance. The umbilical cord was very thin. It was not plump. It was not fat. It was very thin. And I immediately thought, well, this baby's either a little bit of a preemie or we've got some drugs going on here. Got to the hospital, turned the baby over. I got subpoenaed the next day to go to court. If anybody wants to see the subpoenas to verify this, I'd be happy to show you. Got into court. The Department of Child Services said, did you take this baby from this mother? And I said, I'm assuming she's the mother. Basically I just told them everything that I knew. Left that day. The next day I got a second subpoena. I got a total of 4 subpoenas for this case. When you know the law, you can use the law to your advantage. And in Indiana, there is nothing in the statute, which there is nothing in your statute either, that says that if this baby is addicted to drugs, we're going to prosecute this parent. Now, could you classify drugs as an abuse? Abuse is smacking a kid around, broken arm, broken legs, right? maybe neglect. You know, this could be a neglect case, possibly. I wouldn't classify it as that. But in this case in Indiana, I was subpoenaed 4 times. On the second time, they asked me to identify the mother, and our attorney actually fought this because the statute says in Indiana, any person of good faith that voluntarily leaves a child with an emergency medical services provider is not obligated to disclose the person's name or the parent's name. That is what I hung my hat on. I got a 3rd subpoena. 4th subpoena, we went in and my lawyer looked at me and goes, Monica, this is not going away. I would recommend as your lawyer that if the judge says that he's gonna hold you in contempt of court or name this mother, that I would name this mother. Now, just to give you a little bit of history on this, I'm from a town of 2,000 people. I'm the Baby Box Lady of America with 1.5 million followers. My husband is the mayor of our city. Do you think I knew the identity of this mother? You bet I did. I can tell you where she lives. But on that 4th subpoena I went in, I pled the 5th. Because I looked at my lawyer and I said, they're gonna have to throw me in jail. I'm not gonna name her. Because if I would have named her, no firefighter in this country would have been trusted. No woman would have walked into a fire station or a hospital and handed a child that had drugs in their system to anyone for fear of being identified and being prosecuted. Same thing with the boxes. If a baby comes through there that is drug addicted, you know what? Say a prayer and thank the good Lord that you just saved the life of a child and they're out of that situation. Again, our job doesn't change. Let the process take over. Child Services wants to prosecute. Good luck finding the parent. But our job doesn't change on the drug issues. So, anything else, boss?
That's it. You got it.
Anybody else got any other questions?
Well, did you go to jail?
I did not go to jail. I pled the 5th.
Okay.
I've actually made the subpoenas public because I want people to know how hard I fight. I will do anything to protect these moms who are doing the right thing. And she was doing the right thing. I've seen her we have a Dollar General, that's the big hangout place in Woodburn. I've seen her in Dollar General and she completely ignores me like she doesn't know who I am. And that's okay. You know, I don't want to sit there and have a conversation with her. But that's how she deals with it, and that's okay. But she knows how hard I fought for her. Because it was very public in our town. But I did not go to jail. Interesting enough, my son at the time was, I don't even know, but he says, and I'm not gonna, if you've read my book, you know the situation with my son, but he says, Mom, if you gotta go to jail, I'd put an extra pair of socks on and don't wear a dress, because it's cold. And so I literally have 2 pairs of socks on, long pants, and a long shirt, just in case they haul me off to jail. But, all right, any questions on the law? Any questions on Safe Haven? Any questions on what to do, what not to do? Would everybody be comfortable taking a child from a mom? Guarantee you're not, but you're ready. All right, we're gonna set this box off so everybody can see exactly how this works. But I'm gonna end with this because I like people to understand where our hearts are at Safe Haven Baby Boxes and why I started this organization back in 2015. And so for you to kind of understand where the passion and the purpose and the drive comes from and why I've dedicated my life and retired as a firefighter and a medic to do this full time, I'm going to take you back to August of 1972 when a young 17-year-old girl was brutally attacked and raped and left along the side of the road. And this was in 1972 when abortion was illegal in our country, even in the cases of rape and incest. And I am not here to debate abortion, I'm just stating it wasn't available then. And this 17-year-old girl pressed charges against this man. He was arrested, he was charged, and then if that wasn't the worst of it, when her life was finally getting back to normal, she found out she was pregnant. She was hidden for the remainder of the pregnancy, and she gave birth in April of 1973 and abandoned her child 2 hours after that child was born. And that child was me. So I stand on the front lines of this movement as one of these kids that wasn't lovingly and safely and legally and anonymously placed in a Safe Haven baby box by a parent that wanted me. But this is my legacy and I am their voice. And I will forever walk alongside these parents who choose something safe for their child. And I will forever walk alongside these kids and show them their worth. You know, I got to meet my biological mother when I was 37 years old. I actually found her by accident. If you've read my book, there's another dig for my book. There's 2 digs for my books. I'm done. I won't do it anymore. But I got to meet my biological mother when I was 37 years old, and that became the best and the worst day of my life because I had no idea of my beginnings. What my birth or what my adoptive parents were told when they adopted me was that my birth parents were young and loving and couldn't care for me, so they placed me for adoption. So my whole life growing up, I thought I had this fairy tale family waiting for me when I turned 18 and my birth records would be opened. I found out at 37 that this was the story I was told to protect me. And I grew up 20 minutes from where this happened. And so, but getting to know her, getting to know my biological mother and getting to meet her literally changed the course of my life because I learned empathy. And we have to have empathy for these women. We don't know their story. They're doing something that maybe you wouldn't do, maybe I wouldn't do. But this is what they've chosen. And it's safe, and it's legal. And we should honor that with them. And there's a lot of choices out there that they can choose, and as long as it's a safe one, keeping their child safe, we all should be proud. So that is the end of my spiel. Let's set this box off so you can see exactly how this operates. So if anybody asks you, you'll know how fast it works. And can we get everybody in that room, do you think? Probably not everybody in the room. We can probably...
Our staff could be out there.
Stay out, everyone will fit. I think if the girl...
Yeah, our girls have seen it, so they could stay out. We'll just let everyone else in.
All right, so Sergeant, you got the key. Can you unlock it? Go ahead and unlock it. And then we need a baby. Anybody got a baby around here? I'm kidding. We don't want a real baby. We don't want a real baby. Yes, we'll just use a purse or something like that. But we're going to time it. So the people that want to see how this works, we're going to go inside. So don't open the door just yet. We're going to go inside and we're going to set this off. You guys are going to see the inside of the box, see how it activates. And then we're going to call it a day.
Do you want them to go in first?
Yes, we're going to go in before we